Hello and welcome to Knobcat Games Dungeons of the Obelisk podcast. I'm your host, Joe Sleppy. I'm Executive Prime at Knobcat Games, and this podcast is our audio devlog where we get together every 2 weeks and we talk about the progress of our game, which is Dungeons of the Obelisk, a 2D turn-based dungeon crawling loot grinding adventure. And I'm joined today by our digital alchemist, TJ Yedicernia.
Hello.
And TJ, it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast, and we've got a chat system now. I think that's going to be the big topic for the podcast today. Is as much as we can get out of talking about a chat system.
Yeah, it's definitely a very large feature that got in a relatively short amount of time, which I think is great. Ended up using the Photon chat, which they made it just as easy as possible. It couldn't be any simpler to actually get this thing in.
And I also, as a side note, I'm glad it was easy. And I also got on because we had talked about talking about about the cost of it, but we never actually got into it. So I actually Googled them and pulled up their cost structure and stuff. And I was a little worried because I've seen other sites where they're oh yeah, our entry level is $10, and then whenever you go to the pro level, it's $500 a month or something like that. And I got on and looked, and they're actually very fairly costed too. It seems like we just need to go up the one level, and it's only I can't even remember what it was, but it was very reasonable per month. It might even been per year for the first level. So depending how many people we get chatting in our game, we might have to step it up, but even those steps seem pretty good.
Yeah, they seem to manage their thing pretty well with the subscription, which is kind of surprising that it's this easy, along with the fact that it's easy or it's cheap to actually maintain.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder how it'll go when it has more players, because it says something about 100 concurrent users, but I feel like a game would have a lot more than that, so I wonder, does it just make different chats every time it passes that amount?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it has scaling where it'll charge us extra for more users or whatever, but even I'd have to pull it up to look at it, but the 100 concurrent users was the next step up, and then after that I think it was 1,000, and it was still very reasonably priced. So if we get over 1,000 people chatting in our game, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you would like to have that happen.
Yeah, for sure. One thing we need to figure out, I guess, is is somebody just being logged on and able to see the chat count as a user, or does the user actually have to be typing?
Yeah, I'm not sure how that really works, because they use the term concurrent user, which I was assuming is just players that are actively connected to a chat, but
yeah,
I require a bit more research to figure out what they actually mean by that.
That's interesting. I mean, I got the game pulled up right now, and oh yeah, you're chatting in there. I saw you.
Yeah, it's on my screen. It's kind of tiny, so it's hard to read.
I'll type just podcasting. It's so cool though. It is awesome that it just works right now. Barring a few little bugs that I did find. I found that if you log out, it doesn't go away. So the chat's still on the login screen.
Oh yeah.
And then whenever I changed my account and logged into a different user, I was still chatting as the first account. So that's something to we'll have to look into. But
I was really trying to mess with the sizing of it, because I want the chat to be readable, so you can both play and see the chat at the same time, but I don't want it to be so large that it just takes up your entire screen and you can't see anything.
Right. I think it should be resizable. Can it be resizable by the user and be moved around?
It should be able to. I would have to kind of look a bit more into how to do that for the player.
Yeah, because the world chat is fine, probably one spot, but if you could, once you get other users, and you're talking to your friends and stuff, being able to sort them around and dock them where you want, and maybe have a little notification whenever you get a new message in that docked one would be good next step probably. I mean, we don't want to overcomplicate it, so if we can just get it working, that's good too. And then we can always like polish it as it goes.
Yeah, get certain like base features in.
Yeah, for sure.
And can expand upon it later. Character lost all this stuff.
Yeah, we're still having that bug where your character, if you click on the menu, your character like gets naked for a bit.
It's so weird because it only happens the one time.
Yeah, and then once you go back into your inventory and fix it, then it goes away. It doesn't happen again. One other thing I noticed with the chat, I saw you got in the notifications whenever you find a legendary item.
Yeah.
And that's working really good, like in the dungeons and the breaches and stuff. But if I click on the shop, it says that I've found the onion head. And then if I click on the tailor and inspect the cosmetic supporter pack, it just says that I got them all.
Oh. Yeah, I see that in the chat now.
Which is fine. I want it to say whenever the person actually gets them, but not when they just look at them. Because that'll be like a spam for a while.
Yeah, that'll pile into the chat a lot.
Every time someone looks at an item.
Basically just wiped out the entire chat just by looking at stuff.
Yeah. One other question is the chat going to be able to scroll? Because it would be nice to be able to scroll back up and see stuff.
See, typically something like this would have an auto scroll. It doesn't have one. Yeah, because it is like a scrolling menu. It just doesn't have the scroll bar attached yet, I guess, which is why you can't do it yet.
Okay. So whenever I found those items, it just said I found them, but whenever you found them, it put them in quotation marks.
Oh yeah, that's because the update I did, like when I was working on it yesterday, I pushed the build, and then I was messing with it and I realized it didn't have quotes, and I thought, that doesn't make sense without quotes. So I added it in on my end, I just didn't push the build with it.
Alright, I don't know if we need quotes. I think that those item found messages should be in a different color, if possible. You know, I don't know what color it would be, but something to differentiate them from the person actually typing, because look, I can do this.
Manually type it in.
I found the best item in the game, but yeah, so somebody could just type it in and it would look like they got an item. So I think that those automatic messages should have different.
Yeah, colors could be added in just fine. In fact, I don't know if it works, but I know if somebody knows unique text-based commands, they might be able to type it in and it might actually go through. I think -N is like a space. Actually, it gets labeled as a command. It gets flagged.
Oh, yeah, I see. So you can't actually type commands in, like, give items.
I'm gonna have to mess with that, because I just typed in the help command and that actually did something. I don't know if it went through on your chat, though.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I got, like, a bunch of green text, and it's telling me about usernames and other commands that are available.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, a lot of this is, like, default features that were built into it that I can turn off. Like, by default, they use a command system that allows you to do all kinds of weird commands that may or may not be necessary.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. It seems like a really robust chat system, so we should have, like, our dev names in, like, orange or something, so whenever we're in the chat, people know that we're devs.
Oh, yeah. I like the idea of that. Might be able to do something like that with the, like, some of the filtering or authentication things. I know I had added the chat filter the other day, and I had settings to have, like, moderators or other things. At least it looked like it did.
Yeah, that's definitely something we'll need to have, because world chat can get out of hand sometimes. I was also curious if there was a limit on how much I can type.
Oh, and like one single thing? It might not be.
It doesn't seem like it. I'm thinking it should be, like, limited maybe at some point. Just screaming in the chat. Another thing I just noticed, like, since we just filled the chat with single letters, it ends like 3/4 of the way over on the screen, like on the chat box. Like, it doesn't actually go to the end.
Yeah, it looks like it's like a force limit on it. When it comes to text things like this, I just need to widen the max text width, I guess, so that I can reach the other end of it. Didn't realize that it, like, defaulted to a little over half.
Yeah. No, it's really good progress, though. I'm pretty confident that we're getting very close to being able to, like, open the test realm. Like, I'm almost hoping like maybe 2 weeks, the next update, like we can then focus on the test realm. I don't know if that's expecting too much or not, but
I think there's a strong possibility. It might just be kind of like shift what is the main focus, what do we have to do to get it going? Because the chat in its basic form is working. Obviously needs some improvements, but I feel like if we kind of shift from the chat to some other stuff, like the updating the friend system, making sure that's all set.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say that. I think the friend system is really the last big thing. You know, getting chat to work with friends, getting your friends' requests to actually work instead of just being automatic, getting those names in the chat so you can click on them and view the person's profile.
Yeah, I was starting to look into that one, which that might not be too bad. Photon actually has something called smart messages. So a message can be more than just a line of text. It can actually make sections of it linkable so you can click on it and it would do things like open a profile. Or I might even be able to do it where if it's an item, you can click on their item they just got to see its stats.
Yeah, that would be cool, but also a feature that we can save for later, I think. If it's going to be slightly difficult, yeah. It's just cool, like, seeing that they got it, you know?
Yeah, it's not not immediate. Yeah, the profile one should be pretty easy, because, I mean, their name's already there, and that's basically all that's needed to get the profile.
Yeah, I don't want to get people too excited, but I feel like we are getting close to that test realm area. You know, our bugs list is still pretty long, but a lot of it is just little stuff, I think, you know, not game breaking.
Yeah, it's a variety of issues that'll kind of get knocked out over time, especially when we test it. Like, if some of these bugs are more prominent than others, then obviously those take priority, get those fixed.
Yeah, I'm curious how many people will in the test realm will actually like submit reports. So I'm curious how many people actually will submit bug reports and how many people will be like, oh, I can just play, you know, because like hopefully the people in the test realm take it serious and like actually help us test.
Yeah, it all depends on the person, because some people might just, you know, load on, play, and then just say, hey, yeah, this is cool, and then just call it good. Other people actually give full detailed reports of like, these are the issues I had with the game, these are the bugs, these is what I liked. And people like that are incredibly helpful. You can make a lot of progress when people actually give a detailed report like that.
My guess is the people that are actually listening to the podcast will be the people that will give us good bug reports.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it has to do with the scale. Like, if this was a huge AAA game, the amount of people that won't give you something you need goes up.
Yeah, just kind of looking at the bugs list now to see like what we still have lingering. I haven't seen any of the loot disappearing bugs in a while.
Yeah, it's one of the weird ones, because it's something you gotta like watch out for, but it doesn't happen often.
Yeah, I feel like when it was happening though, it would like the items would disappear out of like your equipped slots, so it was pretty noticeable when it happened, even if you didn't remember like what was equipped and stuff. So yeah, I haven't seen any of the stuff like that in a while. I've been playing pretty frequently, so I'm hoping that those got fixed inadvertently, you know, because I know they're still on the bugs list. But
yeah, sometimes they do fix themselves. Other times it could just be an error on the server. Like, let's say it tries to save your data and then an error might happen, and instead of adjusting for it, it just rolls with the error and you have an item disappear temporarily.
Yeah, we also have a bunch of issues, it seems like, with multiple accounts. It seems like when I log out and log into another account, like I always find something weird going on, like clearing my wardrobe and you know, the chat not clearing out and things like that. So that's something that's probably going to have to be a priority, is figuring out why those are still kind of connected.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely be a big focus.
The more we talk, the more it sounds like we still have a lot to do.
I feel like the multiple account ones, like issues with that, you don't want them to really linger, because they can really mess with a player's game when both accounts are kind of merging into each other, where the newer account's taking away from the older account. Maybe the older account's accidentally giving items to the new one.
Yeah, that's definitely, those are bugs that people can figure out how to abuse too.
Definitely don't want that.
That's how you get into like item duplication bugs and stuff. The one other like main thing that I've been curious about how like difficult it's going to be is, like, right now when you first log in, you're a server element, and then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're a player. And then when you log out, you're a player. And then when you log in, you're But then whenever you go to a dungeon or a breach and come back to town, then you're not a server element anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering how much trouble it's going to be to like get that fixed.
I've been thinking about it, and I think temporarily a shorthand, I guess not very good method to fix it might be in place. Because, like, the better way to do it, you should be still in the server, and you are still in the server, but when you get back to town, it reloads your character back into place.
Yeah.
A way I probably shouldn't do it, but is arguably the easier way, is when you start to load back into town, you disconnect from the server for just a moment, and then you reconnect.
Alright.
Which sounds like a very weird way to do it, but that would be a guaranteed way to fix the issue with it. But I do think that would be temporary. Like, that's something where it's just a faster way to solve a problem.
It's kind of weird that you're not a server element when you go into the dungeon. Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird that you quit being the server element at all.
Yeah, it has to do with how the server manages itself. Because what's happening with the server is that when you load into town, you connect to the server, which the server has the town scene active. So if you ever exit the town scene, you are connected to the server because you still have that element there. But you're not fully connected in the way that you exist in the town.
Right.
Since you personally aren't in the town scene. One way you could do it, which would require a lot of work to get it to work properly without any like major issues, is instead of instead of loading a different scene, you could still be in the town with the secondary scene of the dungeon happening in the background in the same scene. So all you would have to do is just teleport the player model into that dungeon and you start moving around.
Yeah, we might have to look into what other people do, I guess, what other games do.
Yeah.
Let's see, maybe disconnecting and reconnecting is the way to do it.
See, I feel like just saying it and thinking about it, it sounds like it's the wrong way to do it, but I can almost guarantee that's just like quick, simple, and it should work.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works, right? As long as it's not causing any like issues.
It wouldn't be the first time a company decides to use a weird method to solve a problem. Kind of reminds me of I guess this isn't really like a server thing, but in an old Mario game, they had issues with Mario falling into lava. Because they wanted his hand to pop up and like give a thumbs up or something, but his arm is too short.
Yeah.
So when he falls into the lava, his head shrinks, so that his arm was technically longer than his head and could actually pop out of the lava. It's like it's the most roundabout method to get the same solution, but I don't know if they had any other option for it.
That's really funny. That makes sense. Either that or like he just all disappears except his arm or something. It's basically the same. So I just went into a dungeon and tried typing in the chat, and everything you type in the chat still affects the dungeon. So like every space that I press like starts and stops auto, and whenever I press the I button it opens the inventory and stuff.
Oh.
Like as I'm typing.
It's interesting. I know I had fixed that in the town, but I guess it still is in the dungeon.
It's so weird like how the dungeon and the town are so like separate. Like you'd think like they're both in the game. If you fix the chat in the town, then it should just work in the dungeon, but it doesn't ever seem like it's like that. It just seems like they're two totally separate things. So everything you do in the town, you also have to do in the dungeon.
Yeah, it's weird that it doesn't work, because the way I'm doing it is that when you open up the chat and you start typing, it'll do something called cannot interact. And I've been using the cannot interact thing for a while now, so I'm not really sure why it doesn't work in the dungeon. Like maybe it just doesn't activate for some weird reason. Maybe there's another feature in the dungeon that allows it to just ignore the interact feature.
Yeah, something we'll have to look into, I guess, because I want to be able to just run dungeons and type at the same time. That way it kind of gives you something to do, like while you're farming dungeons, you can chat with people in the world chat.
I had to test myself, see what happens. Yeah, I clicked spacebar and just immediately started running around.
Can you see my text when I'm in the dungeon?
Let's see. Yeah.
Okay, good. So at least it's still chatting while we're in there.
One interesting thing about the chat is that it's disconnected from the server itself. It's kind of like its own personal thing, which ends up meaning that you could talk in the chat and you can actually talk to somebody who's on a different server. So you wouldn't even be able to see them in the town, but you could still talk to them just fine.
Right, that makes sense, because eventually there will be multiple instances of the town because it'll limit like however many people can be in a town instance at once. So we'll technically have like, who knows, 1,000 towns, but everybody on the game can talk to each other even though they're not on the same server.
Yeah, it allows it for like a much larger, more interconnected chat.
Yeah, that's definitely how we want it to work. Well, somehow we made it to 27 minutes of recording on just the chat system. So it'll be shorter once I edit it down, but I think that's it. Unless you got anything else we should talk about.
I think I'm good.
Right on. Well, in that case, to the listener, thank you so much for making it to the end of our podcast. We really appreciate your interest in our game. If you're here and you're not in our Discord, you definitely want to go to knobcat.com, check out our website, check out the videos, find the link to the Discord. Join us there, ask us questions, and look for updates. The Discord is also where it'll post whenever I go live on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/StarRambler. I try to stream playtesting every time TJ puts out a new update for us so that you can keep up with what we're working on. We also have our social media, which is Twitter and Instagram, which are both at Dungeons Obelisk. And if you're listening to this podcast and there's a spot where you can review, I know you can review in iTunes and on Spotify. So if you could leave us a review and 5 stars, that would really help. That would boost our podcast a little bit. And I think that's everything. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
See ya.